Hello and welcome back to Need for Speed Heat. I'm IMAG and today I'm going to be testing out the acceleration on various cars. I have been trying to do this for a while now and couldn't quite figure out an accurate way of going about it. At first I tried to see which car clocks in the fastest through a speed trap. I tried using a few different ones, mainly the one outside the speedway. I would set up a car at my starting line using the first person point of view without the hood. Unfortunately, it became apparent when I switched perspectives to the third person that not all cars were exactly on my designated starting line. Most were touching the line, but some ended up being a few feet behind it. So I tried putting those cars as close to the line as possible while in the third person point of view. One of the cars with this problem was the Regera. I guess it has a different height or something. All in all, it wasn't going to be accurate enough. Also, the speed registered at the speed trap wasn't directly correlated to the actual time it took to reach the speed trap. I noticed that when I checked the frames of the runs while editing the video for the FXX-K, in which I pitted it against the P1 GTR, in that video, the FXX-K had a higher speed register, but when checking the frames later on, it turns out that the P1 GTR reached the speed trap first. Luckily, I ended up finding another speed trap to test out the vehicles with a more accurate starting line. I'll get into the details at the end of the video, but for now, let's jump straight into the test runs. First off, we have the McLaren P1 GTR. Given that this is the most expensive car before any unlocks, that is, we're going to use it as our base stats and time to beat. We've equipped it with a 5-liter V8 dual turbocharger 7-speed. I tried other engine setups too with different turbo and gears, but this specific one crossed the speed trap first. So let's put a stopwatch on the run and check the results. And it came in at 7 seconds and 18 frames. One thing to note here is that I'm recording at 30 frames per second. So the frames only reach to 30. I'll get a better capture device later on. Up next is the FXX-K, which I previously thought was faster. This is the setup I found to be the quickest, a 6.3-liter V12 dual turbocharger 7-speed. And it came in at 8 seconds and 1 frame, so much slower than the P1 GTR, still clocked in at a higher speed, 252 kilometers per hour. That's 10 higher than the P1 GTR. Something else to note is that I'm using kilometers rather than miles because kilometer is the Pagani Huayra BC with a 5-liter V8 dual turbocharger 7-speed. It comes in with an impressive 7 seconds and 11 frames. And is now our new leader in acceleration and speed, barely getting over the FXX-K's registered speed. Up next is the Koenigsegg Regera with a hybrid 5.1-liter V8 1-speed, given that that is the only available option for the gearbox. This will be our first hybrid engine. And it's not looking so good for the Regera, coming in at 8 seconds and 2 frames. Of course, we are only testing acceleration here, which has nothing to do with top speed, as I believe no one can compete with the Regera on that. Next up, we have the Volkswagen Beetle with a hybrid 1.5-liter inline 3 dual turbocharger 5-speed. This is, according to its stats, the quickest accelerating vehicle in the game. And it does not disappoint with a 7-second 6-frame finish. It takes the lead by a significant margin. I'll be doing one more vehicle. It'll be one of my favorites, the Fox Body Mustang, with a 4.9-liter V8 dual turbocharger 6-speed. It has both a faster acceleration and higher speed than the P1 GTR according to its stats. And it comes in at a decent 7 seconds, 19 frames. Not quite the same as the P1 GTR, but beats the FXX-K and the Regera. So there you have it, the first batch of tested vehicles. Currently the Beetle is looking real secure at the very top, followed by the Huayra with the highest speed registered. The FXX-K and the Regera are not looking too great at the bottom of the list, but personally I believe they excel in other areas such as handling and top speed. Now I'm going to explain a little bit more on my testing setup. After looking around at all the speed trap locations, I found this one over on the top left side of the map that had a pretty straight run up and also was a decent length. The most important thing for me though was that it had an event on the same road that was not too close to the speed trap and that had a starting line facing towards the speed trap. The runway here is a bit shorter than my initial tests outside the speedway, but at least the vehicles here will be set up properly thanks to the race event. So all I would do is bring the car over to the event, start it up, wait for it to count down, and quit immediately. Upon exiting the event, you will be situated in the same starting position from which you can simply hold down the accelerator and drive straight to the speed trap. In order for me to see the exact frame from which I launch forward, I decided to put the car in reverse first by tapping the left trigger ever so slightly. If done correctly, the car will not move at all. All the cars have the same track suspension, differentials, drag tires, highest rated available clutch, and ultimate plus parts. Other than the turbo, of course, the main things I switched around were the engine's turbo and gears. The final thing to note is that some cars don't quite start on the same spot, specifically the Beetle here, which has a shorter body and is placed a bit behind the starting position of other cars. Even so, the little Beetle was able to win in the end. That is it for now. I hope you found these tests useful. Let me know if there is any vehicle which you would like me to test, and I'll be sure to take a look.